Hello and a warm welcome to HW News Network, your one-stop show, truth be told, for some engaging and thought-provoking conversations. What was seen on the streets of Delhi today was something unprecedented. And why I'm saying so is because we're going to talk about the Cockroach Party rally, which drew students, parents to Jantar Mantar today, and Sonam Wangchuk backed this protest. Now, scores of students, parents, and young professionals gathered at Delhi's Jantar Mantar on Saturday for the first major on ground mobilization of the Cockroach Janta Party, transforming a satirical online movement into a street protest demanding accountability over alleged irregularities in examinations and recruitment tests and resignation of the union minister, Dharmendra Pradhan. Now, wearing cockroach masks, carrying books, flowers, and the national flag, protesters assembled under tight security in the heart of the national capital, where the movement's founder, Abhijeet Dipke, accused the government of ignoring concerns raised by the students while focusing on silencing dissent online. Now, the demonstration, which drew supporters from multiple states, comes after weeks of growing social media mobilization around alleged irregularities in examinations, including NEET, CBSE, CUET, and SSC recruitment tests. So now the question is that how did the day pan out? Now, Abhijeet Dipke landed in India early morning, and Delhi police officials received him at the airport. They gave him the permission letter that, okay, Delhi police has given you the permission, you go ahead and hold your protests. Now, what we saw was a 22 million following on Instagram. And this was the first on ground mobilization by the Cockroach Party. And surely the numbers didn't match up to the Instagram following. Many reporters who went on the field, some said that it was less than 5,000, some said it was less than 10,000, but surely the number wasn't as expected, because everyone was expecting that there's going to be a huge crowd, and everyone was expecting that probably the people will land up in lakhs, but that number was not seen, at least on the cameras, the shots which were coming from Jantar Mantar, that was not visible. And just a short while back, in fact, during the afternoon, after a jet lag, because Abhijeet Dipke was traveling from Boston to New Delhi, so obviously that's a long, painful flight. He must be jet lagged. And so by around 3 or 3:30, he wasn't feeling too well, and he had to wind up the protest. And after which there were clips on the social media saying that the protest was not successful. Fewer people landed up at the protest site, and Abhijeet Dipke ran away. But just a short while back, there was a press conference by Saurabh Das and his colleagues, where they said that we give a 7 days ultimatum to the government. Dharmendra Pradhan has to resign. Either Modi should sack him or he should step down. Or else the condition put is that we will go on a pan-India protest. Now, I was also speaking to a number of reporters who were on ground reporting from Jantar Mantar, and then they said that many within the Cockroach Janta Party have been saying that now we have to plan our next leg of action. Maybe there are some more supporters who will join in, some big faces who might join. Then they have to plan in terms of their agenda, what is going to be their agenda over the next 1 week. They have to formulate a core team, which is not formed as yet. So as of now, the movement looks very amorphous. It looked crystallized online, whether it was in Instagram, whether it was on Twitter or Facebook. The online movement looked well-shaped and crystallized, but for the on-ground mobilization, one needs a solid backing. By evening, many people had started saying that this is B team of Aam Aadmi Party. Congress, in fact, said that we empathize and we express solidarity with the sentiment of the students, but we would be cautious enough not to validate the leadership of Abhijeet Dipke, because they have already experienced, they've had a sour experience in 2012 when this India Against Corruption campaign started. And then what we realized, and later on it was written extensively, that apparently it was a protest movement backed by BJP and RSS, and everyone knows how BJP translated that into votes for itself in 2014. That's not a secret at all. So we'll try and discuss as to what the total picture of the big picture of Cockroach Janta Party looks like. Now, with this 7 days ultimatum, uh, will this movement get diluted? Will more people add up to the campaign? And what happens? And also, there's one question to be asked tonight: that has BJP cautiously changed its strategy and come up with an innovative strategy to tackle with elements like Abhijeet Dipke? Because it is to everyone's surprise that it was the same Delhi police who did not offer permissions to the women wrestlers at Jantar Mantar. They did not give permissions to the farmers to protest at Jantar Mantar, but a quick and a prompt permission was given to Abhijeet Dipke and the Cockroach Janta Party. Joining me this evening is Professor Tanveer Ejaz, who is a professor from the Ramjas College. Thank you so much, Tanveer, for joining. We have Anchal Gupta, who's a researcher of the Yuva Halla Bol. He has his own YouTube channel and he was present at Jantar Mantar, so we will get some eyewitness accounts from him. Also joining me this evening is Sujata Paul. She's a Congress spokesperson and also a social activist. Thank you so much, Sujata, for joining. And let me begin with Anchal, because Anchal, I want to understand, there's a lot of discussion now on as to how many people reach Jantar Mantar. Nobody's talking about the cause. People are discussing more about the numbers, whether it was a hit, whether it was a failure. And shall we see the quantum of success in terms of the number of people who reached Jantar Mantar? Yes, Anchal.
Neeluji, thank you for having me on the show, and good evening to all the panelists. So, I honestly believe that if we judge solely by the numbers, then we have to consider all the factors as well that were at play at that time, which are that we all know, and everyone who has visited Jantar Mantar or ever been a part of a protest at Jantar Mantar very well knows that the total capacity to fit in Jantar Mantar is not more than 10,000. Even if we squeeze people like anything, we will maybe able to fit badly squeezed, and that's a huge threat of stampede in that case, 14 to 15,000 people, not more than that. So I was there till 12:10 to 12 p.m. to be exact, and I left the venue after that, and I was there since early morning. Because the initial rounds of the whole, you can say, interaction or confrontation with the police and the forces and everything, all that happened near the police station or inside the police station, the Sansad Marg police station, which is next to Jantar Mantar. So by the time people started gathering, and here I must also share one fact, that when a lot of the media people and most of the media people who were there were online media people, the recent online media that has come up in our country in the last 7, 8, 5, 6, 10 years. A lot of YouTubers were there, like me, maybe more experienced YouTubers than me. And the crowd that was supporters, or the crowd that was actually just as part of being protesters, was just beginning to gather around 9:15, because that's what the call was also given. Till around 9:30, 9:45, the announcements through some loudspeakers near the Sansad Marg police station kept being made that, okay, you all move to the Jantar Mantar because the protest permission has been given, and that's the official site. But because one of their spokespersons, Saurav Das, was one person who was the only one who had appeared at that time, and everybody kind of, because there were so many media people, especially a lot of online media people, everybody kind of mobbed him. And because Abhijeet Dipke had not reached there from the airport till that time, and any of their other members who have been visible over the last few days online were not there. He was the one who was there, if I remember correctly. There was one other person, Mr. Dahiya, he was also there. So these two were there, and Saurav Das was the one who was doing most of the talking. So till that time, the people who were actually there for protesting, not covering per se, like us, they were not that much. But by around 9:45, 10, a significant stream of people from different directions had started converging in Jantar Mantar. And it kind of reached its first part of the crescendo around 11:45 to 11:30 p.m., 11:30 a.m. around, when Abhijeet Dipke eventually reached the main protest site of Jantar Mantar. I am not an expert that just by looking all around me, I can guess close to an accurate number of people that were there. And so I might be, but I honestly feel around 8,000 maybe people were there at that time, maybe 8,500. Could be 9 if we consider some people who were on the surrounding roads, nearby roads as well. I spoke to more than 20 people there, and these I'm talking about whom I did not know. There were people whom I knew, of course, because as we all know, and we can see that online as well on the Cockroach Janta Party's Insta handles, that the left parties and the younger crop of the left parties, people who have been student leaders in JNU and other places, they were there already, and they've already shared their videos as well in collaboration on the Instagram handle of Cockroach Janta Party. And because when you collab on a reel, then from all the different handles, it can be shared. So they were there, and I spoke to 2-3 of them briefly for my own channel's video. And the common people that I spoke to was I would say, a significant percentage of the 8 to 9,000 who were there were actually common people who had come from Delhi or nearby cities, who actually believed and honestly believed that yes, change is required, which I'm sure the entire opposition believes. Everyone believes that an urgent and significant change is required in our education system. That's the overarching thing. And then in order to come out of the present malaise, the present fiasco one after the other that is occurring, the first person who holds primary responsibility, the education minister, needs to go. And then we need to target the agencies, the organizations under the different ministries which are tasked with conducting all these exams and recruitment processes, and they need to have some kind of an overhaul or significant changes being made. Those were the kind of discussions happening on air when we were recording and all that. And there were people from Delhi University. There were young professionals who had appeared for these exams in previous years, and now they were working professionals. There were students who had appeared in 2024 or this year or last year for NEET and other exams. So there was a healthy mix. Then, of course, there were some people by the kind of slogans that they were making, and some of them were carrying dhaplis and all that, very archetypal left groups who were there, and they were doing their own regular slogan and everything. And again, I would say that there were at least 400 or something people with cameras, all kinds of cameras, who were recording. And I felt that if there are 300 or 400 YouTubers or one kind of online media, that is great for online media in this country. But I don't know how many of them just audience and how many of them are serious YouTubers or whatever. So when Abhijeet started speaking, at that time, there were almost over 1,000 people who finally sat down, because otherwise, the one problem that was there was coordination, because the CJP does not have a core team of experienced people who has organized or coordinated or things like that in the protest. So that was a chaos till around 11:30 when he came. And then there were 1,000 people standing, these 5, 6, 7 people who are kind of leaders from the left and from CJP and all that, they were standing beside a boundary, just adjacent to a boundary, and then there were 1,000 something people or something sitting, and then there was like a boundary of people around those sitting people, and then there was a lot of crowd behind them. And mind you, we must remember that the level of humidity and the level of temperature at that time was unbearable. Let us be honest, this is 6th of June, and we are living in the times of climate change. Let's not deny that. And there's something called wet bulb temperature, and wet bulb temperature starts affecting more people over the years than it used to 20 years ago. So things were bad there in terms of the ability of a lot of people to stand there. So people were moving to the nearby shops and trying to eat and drink and keep the fluids high. And they had actually given this instruction in their posters as well: please keep fluids in, because it will be brutally hot and humid. So that was the thing. Then I came back, and then I also saw the visuals only. So
no, but Anchal, did you also see Aam Aadmi Party supporters? Because that is what the constant refrain is, that this is a B team of Aam Aadmi Party. Did you find anybody from
I did not, from the conversations that I had and from whatever I saw, I did not, at least the people I spoke to, nobody told me that I belong to Aam Aadmi Party or I have been a supporter of the Aam Aadmi Party or whatever, volunteer for the Aam Aadmi Party. Neither did I see anyone wearing any kind of caps or carrying any kind of flags or any kind of paraphernalia, something like that, that could resemble anything related to the Aam Aadmi Party. But we cannot deny the possibility that because Abhijeet Dipke and a few other of his team members have had past association, so there could have been a significant percentage of the people who have been either volunteers, members, or supporters of the Aam Aadmi Party. But I have no information whatsoever on that. To be honest, I did not get any information on the ground on that.
All right. Now, I was watching some mainstream news channels, and Professor Tanveer, I'll come to you, that all of them have started dismissing this Cockroach Janta Party movement, saying that this is the Aam Aadmi Party's B team. Now, is it premature to judge this movement like that? Nobody's talking about the cause. I was just watching Republic and then Times Now and also the Hindi channel. They're all busy discussing the fact that this is the B team of Aam Aadmi Party, but nobody is talking about the cause. Either they are focusing on the numbers as to how many reach Jantar Mantar, that apparently for them decides the success or the failure, and the other part is the politics of how it's backed by the Aam Aadmi Party, backed or not backed. either ways. Uh, the way mainstream media is covering this Cockroach Janta Party, what does it go to show? Either they are focusing on the numbers or they are saying it's a B team of Aam Aadmi Party.
See, one thing is very clear that the mainstream media is with the government. No, I mean, let's not make any illusion about it. Uh, so mainstream media would like, to portray this whole movement in such a way that it should die down. That's the way how they are thinking about this particular movement, and therefore they are just clubbing it with Aam Aadmi Party, so that and they have enough of beating of Aam Aadmi Party. So by clubbing it with Aam Aadmi Party, they are thinking that probably it will get all the brickbats. This whole Cockroach Janta Party will get all the brickbats, and therefore people would start hating it, right? Uh, which is not true. Which is not true. What I understand is that the youth in particular, forget about people in general, but youth in particular, they are sort of getting disillusioned. Either they are getting disillusioned by the mainstream political parties, or the kind of institutional politics, or the kind of representational structure of political parties which is there in our country. They are sort of getting disillusioned, or perhaps they are being more creative, in terms of venting out their anger, their collective emotional sort of intensity. It's coming out in public, right? And there is a history. I mean, of course, for some time this whole anger was brewing up, and it was getting accumulated, and it was of course, see, had government taken a step, right, towards removal of the education minister, perhaps this is what I feel, is that this particular group would have picked up another point of the government, right? Uh, because it's very clear that the youth are getting very disillusioned by the government. It's very clear, right? About, and particularly about the education policy, particularly about the new education policy, the manner in which it is being implemented, the manner in which how education system is being sort of uh, 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 you know uh, uh, tackled by this government. So therefore this pent up anger is there, and that is perhaps the reason why the BJP is going soft on this group, right? It has laid down, I mean, it
No,
gave
but
it gave
would it be right to say that BJP has gone soft on them, or would it be better to say that apparently BJP has thought of changing its strategy to tackle a situation like this with Abhijeet Dipke and the Cockroach Janta Party?
Yeah, of course. So that is the change of the strategy. They would come harsh on other students groups, particularly NSUI. They would come harsh on any other organized political party group. But they are seeing the potential here, because this, of course, Gen Z protest, it's a global phenomena, right? It's not just Indian phenomena. It's a global phenomena, and it is very clear that this particular group, right, is catching up. It is finding traction with the students, right? I mean, the fact that there's so many millions and millions of followers, it's finding traction to the students. Particularly, I see in the university, the students talk about it. The students, they are somehow getting attracted to this particular idea that government is destroying university systems, right? And how to oppose. So therefore it's giving a good platform for the students to oppose the government, right? Now
You
the
were
real question is,
saying that,
yeah, sorry,
Tanvi,
the
so
real
you were
question is that how this whole the question that also perhaps you are asking is that how this whole movement can be endured, right? Whether it's a just a one-off story, or it's going to continue. To my understanding, it is not going to stop. It is going to continue one way or the other, right? Because there are so
But
many,
I think
so
I
many
wanted to
issues
ask
out
you.
here.
No, but one thing more which I wanted to ask you, and then I'll come to Sujata, that you think that the government can really afford to use water cannons and use a lathi charge, do a lathi charge on these supporters who gathered, with the Cockroach Janta
Yes,
Party
yes.
people?
So this government is very adept and very skillful in using carrot and stick policy, right? So at the moment, they have given the carrot to the group, and they're exploring, which direction this whole group is going. They're also clueless about that which direction this group would go, which political party is backing. So they're clueless right now. So today
Right.
was the experiment of the government to explore and to see. So therefore, they had given carrot. So once you give the carrot, you can explore and you can sort of understand. But the next movement, of course, when they gather in a huge number, it would be a crackdown. It would be a crackdown. So it's a
Right.
it's a government which goes with a carrot and a stick policy, not just to students, but to any protesters. You must have
Right.
seen that's a carrot and stick policy. So therefore, in the carrot and stick policy, the protesters see, this is Gen Z, right? They have also understood government's carrot and stick policy, so they are very creative. They would very creatively plan their next move, and I'm very happy that they have given 7 days time, and it is the 7 days time is the time when they are going to prepare themselves for the next onslaught.
I'll come to Sujata now. Sujata, now there are whole lots of questions as to why Congress has not been visible with Abhijeet Dipke. All sorts of conspiracy theories are there that apparently few people see it as a nexus between RSS and some deep state. That is also doing the rounds. I don't know how far that is true. But the big question is that if the cause is has such a big potential, it's the same cause which Rahul Gandhi repeatedly has been raising, and NSUI protests we've been seeing for so long. So, what is the problem? Why Congress couldn't align itself with this particular movement openly?
Good evening, Neelu, to my co panelists and to your audiences. Let's make no mistake, this is the angst of the youth which you're seeing on the streets. I'm not just a teacher, but also somebody who works with protesters on the ground. And I'll tell you something, in the last 10 years, what has happened is with most protesters, they always tell us that, we don't want the protest to become political. We don't want the BJP to tell us that this is political and Congress is backing us. And therefore, we want it to remain neutral. What is this neutral? This is this fear that the BJP has instilled in people, and that's one way of preventing them from taking their protest forward. And that is why when you get this neutral kind of a platform, a lot of youngsters will naturally, join it. There'll be a clamor to join it, in fact, and that is what has happened. And I will never underestimate the youth. Now you see what has happened. Rahul Gandhi has been raising this issue. Vinod Jakar of the NSUI in Rajasthan, Odisha, Madhya Pradesh, a lot of places you must have seen the Congress, NSUI Youth Congress protesting and facing the water cannons, carrying out, mashal rallies, etc. And Rahul Gandhi has been constantly voicing what our youngsters are saying, that Dharmendra Pradhan must resign. Secondly, Rahul Gandhi is the one who is meeting these youngsters and taking forward to the people of the country that look what the government is doing. They're calling us 17-year-olds, deep state agents, anti-nationals, Pakistanis. This has come to the fore through his conversation with these youngsters who are facing the brunt of it all. Also, do not forget that it is the Parliamentary Standing Committee, which has called the two youngsters, or rather, I think there were three of them, to present their matter in front of them, how they, completely bashed the government and brought out the facts in the case of the system which was being followed by this government, by this education ministry. Isn't that huge? And if Rahul Gandhi meets them, it means that he's standing with the cause. And it is very clear that nobody is saying that this is the B team of the Congress party, which is really strange. The government should be saying that this is the B team of the Congress party. Why are they not saying it? They do not want the Congress party to get any attention. One, And I'm happy that they don't want to do it, because I want the cause to remain supreme. I want the cause to find a resolution, because it is not worth it if our youngsters have no faith in the system. And that is what is happening. And make no mistake, Rahul Gandhi is meeting these very youngsters. And that is why I keep saying that we should not fall into the trap of the BJP, where they are trying to build a narrative and push it down our throats also. And these are youngsters who have joined this meme and turned it into a movement, because there is a lot of anguish within them, a lot of turmoil. There are 5 to 6 people who have committed suicide. Maybe there are others who are going through other difficult problems, because it also means financial pressures on the family, their dreams which are getting lost. And when you talk about the youth, you cannot stop them from doing what they want, because they have nothing to lose. You and I have been
Also
in at
heard,
that stage of our lives as well. Yes.
Sujata, I've also heard, people off the record saying that, we are very, I mean, the Congress workers, that they are very unhappy with the mainstream media, or rather the alternate media also, because they have been discriminatory. They have been focusing too much on the Cockroach Janta Party, whereas the NSUI workers have been holding protests for the last 10 days almost, but the media didn't bother to show that. Is that true?
Absolutely. But we have no problem with, of course, there will be problems because there will be comparisons drawn, right? But of course, we have a problem that we are not being shown. And that is why I feel that when Rahul Gandhi's videos come out and people know that he's talking to the youngsters, that is substantiated by the fact that these youngsters are out on the streets asking for their rights, asking for transparency, and ensuring that the system works for them. Because this country does not belong to you and me. It belongs to the future. Future is the youngster. And how will Mr. Modi or his motley group be considerate towards them? How will he care when they don't have anything to do with education? So I am definitely not, going to buy the story where these youngsters are being maligned and derogated, because it is a cause which has brought them together. And again, at the time when the UPA government was in place, there was an IAC movement, after which Nirbhaya happened, and the momentum which was built through Nirbhaya is the momentum which the BJP RSS combined used to fuel rumors and doubts and suspicions in the minds of the people through their India Against Corruption movement. It was the Nirbhaya movement where youngsters were there. We didn't stop them. Mrs. Sheila Dikshit went to meet them, even though the youngsters were really angry and they shooed her away. But that didn't deter her from listening to people. Has the government gone to listen to these youngsters even once? Has the government sent anybody to the NSUI protest? Forget the NSUI protest for a moment. Have they sent anybody to the Cockroach Janta Party event? No, they haven't. They're only trying to manage it. And there was no reason why they would have stopped Abhijeet Dipke, because this would have sent a wrong message across the world that the youth of the country are not being allowed to speak. This is the Gen Z of India, educated Gen Z, who are asking for their rights and asking for transparency of the system. So this clearly means that I would be happy with 500 people there. Believe me, I know how difficult it is to get people out onto the streets in the present time. How can we expect 17 and 18 and 19-year-olds to be sent out by people who themselves are voters of the BJP, and they will not want their children to come into any danger? One. And secondly, if they are affiliated with some party, they will want the situation to be diffused, because the BJP has turned citizens into members of their party. So let's not target our youth, is what I would like to tell your audiences through this program, because what the youth is saying is what we must listen to.
All right. Now I'll come for the final round of questions very briefly, if in 1 or 2 minutes, if you all can finish your comments. Coming to you, Anchal, now that what is another turning point we could see in this Cockroach Janta Party movement? Now they have given an ultimatum of 7 days, and what I'm assuming is that the Cockroach Janta Party will form its core team, and then they will come up with a renewed vigor maybe in 7 days. They've already given an ultimatum that 7 days Dharmendra Pradhan should resign, or else we go pan-India. So what is the next thing we can expect? And also, what are the kind of headlines we're going to expect tomorrow? Cockroach Janta Party movement has fizzled out. what was promised, not delivered? Are we going to see something like that tomorrow morning?
I believe that one of these so-called toolkits of the BJP and this government, and they are going to deploy it once again, that they are probably deliberately, you know, having a wait and watch approach right now. What Professor Ejaz sir said, the carrot and stick approach, that right now they dangle the carrot and they are waiting for the right time to use the stick once again. And the stick would be in the form of that they are building a whole probably database about all these individuals who have been who they have singled out, or the agencies have singled out, the intelligence and everybody, that okay, these are all the people in different kind of leadership and coordination positions in the CJP and all associated groups. Find out anything and everything possible about them through which we can spun narratives once again of how eventually they belong to some kind of a larger anti-national setup. Don't be surprised if the name Soros once again comes up, because he sadly has come up more
No, but
times in
I did
India.
see,
Probably has
I
never
did
visited
see,
India. God knows when was the
I,
last time he did. And
I did
yet
see
he
some
always keeps to
saffron
come up in
clad.
every discussion.
No, but you have to tell me if you also saw that. I saw one of the clips on the social media, saffron clad people wearing orange kurtas. They were there from some Hindu organization, and they were talking to the press saying that these are all anti-nationals. They were saying it on
For a
record.
change, I actually saw some Delhi police personnel actually trying to politely, move away a person who was vehemently and vociferously as a supporter of the Bharatiya Janata Party, and he was trying to say that how are you all allowing these anti-national forces and these Pakistan elements here in Jantar Mantar? And the police actually realized that there was a high chance that that guy could get bashed up there, because
Yeah,
he was trying to be too vociferous and too provocative, and he was among the very few people today who was trying to build up the counter narrative that no, these are all anti-national elements, and there were far too many anti-national elements
no. So
according to the BJP right now. It was like
to say
100 to 1 there, and they would
no.
have
So which
actually
means
got bashed up. And
no. So
if
which
I can
means
use that kind of a language here, if they had
Which
tried.
means
So
no, Anchal, I'm saying that which means that BJP did try to divert the focus of this entire protest.
I think there are so many senas that have come up in this country in every nook, corner, and gully, who all seem to be protecting some their own concept of religion, that even the BJP has no clue how many Sena members are where, when, and what are they doing. That's the reality.
All right.
So
Okay.
there are all kinds of Senas now and all kinds of
All right.
Raksha Dals now everywhere.
Right.
And
All
I
right.
can bet that the same person would be found in 5 different Raksha Dals on 5 different days.
Yeah,
So
that's what happens normally in all the protests. I'm running short of time. Professor Tanveer, I'll come to you for the concluding comments and then to Sujata.
just one
Yes.
last point. I just want to make very quickly in 15 seconds that there's absolutely no doubt that the Godi media has remained absolutely shameful and disgraceful, because the IYC and the NSUI have been brilliant, in my opinion, over the last few years, and especially in the last few months, in raising the issues of the people at the ground. And they have hit the ground running in a lot of other cities beyond Delhi and the metros. And they've
Right.
been amazing. There's no doubt about that. So
All right.
credit where it's due.
Right. Okay, Tanveer. Yes.
Yeah, so in conclusion, I can say that the whole idea of protest, right, against corruption or against any evil, is radically emancipatory in nature, right? And students, they've got the kick out of it, right? So they are not going to stop now, the fact that the institutions are getting dismantled, public education systems are getting dismantled, and it is affecting students in a very big way. So therefore I think they would organize themselves one way or the other, and they would ask government the questions that why they have done this to them, right? I mean, there's so many. Look at the suicides. How many suicides have taken place. No examination, be it school admissions, be it college admissions, be it for employment purposes. I mean, the examination system has crumbled, right? Just look at it. Tell me, any and every examination you find some kind of other leakage is there. And leakage, I mean, it creates a suspicion. Leakage is the outcome of some, perhaps if it when it is known. Otherwise, when it is not known, the same system goes on, and there are a lot of people who are getting benefit out of it. So
Yes.
therefore, I think this whole uh, it's not going to stop. And it is what I have said is that the oppositional space is getting increased, and that's a good part of the democracy, because this whole protest is strengthening democracy in one way or the other,
Right.
questioning
Absolutely.
authoritarianism. So therefore let's see how it pans out.
Right. All right. So, Sujata, how do you see the next 7 days? And you see the movement fizzling out? Do you see any chances of the government coming hard on these protesters? Now, I don't know whether they will be protesting over the next 7 days, but I'm sure there'll be a lot of movement online, which will again, once again, mobilize. Because I heard some Cockroach Janta Party people saying the next protest will be the next Saturday. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of on ground mobilization which will happen. Who knows, it might happen in other cities as well. So, what can we really expect according to you?
See, I was at a protest in the morning today, and I found that there was a young boy who is in first year of college doing his engineering, who came to the protest site with some pamphlets, and he didn't know that this that we had called for a protest as well, and asking for Dharmendra Pradhan to resign. Now, the point is that there is a lot of angst all over the place. And when we are talking about these youngsters, please remember the government should know that minds are changing and the votes will change. When the youngsters, every year there are 2.5 crores who come from 17 year to 18 year and so on and so forth. So by the time elections are due into 2029, there will be a huge chunk of voters who will be voting against this government, no matter what their parents say. Watch the stand-up comedians. I always go back to them because these are the youngsters who are speaking against the government. Most of them are speaking against the government, aren't they? And clearly, it is their angst which comes out in what they say. And even if they are not out on the streets, believe you me, now the world has changed. And in this present time, you will see change through social media and in the form of votes and in the form of ensuring that there is transparency. So I have a feeling that this is just going to go on. There will be events on the ground, but the government also doesn't want Rahul Gandhi to get the credit for asking for Dharmendra Pradhan's resignation, because the entire Congress party is, asking for his resignation. They probably would like to deflect it to Abhijeet Dipke and Cockroach Janta Party, which is all very well as long as the resignation comes in. And of course, we are the political party which is present. And of course, there is space in democracy. We are not like the
Are you
BJP
saying?
that will
Are
say
you
nobody
saying
else has
that?
the right to
Are you
come.
saying that the government, who knows that the Cockroach Party could be an offshoot of the government only to dilute
No.
the anger?
No, I'm not saying that. And in Hindi they say "Vishwas karoge, tabhi to vishwasghat hoga." So how can I, say that they are going to betray us without even testing the trust by placing the trust in them? So I'm not a very pessimistic person. So maybe I'm saying what I'm saying is different from what others are saying. But I'm a teacher and I'm also a social activist who works on the ground, meets people, and listens to them.
All right, so we'll have to wait and watch what happens over the next 7 days. Are going to be crucial, and also what kind of mobilization takes place on the ground and also online. Thank you so much. We'll have to end it here. Professor Tanveer, Sujata, Anchal, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you. Thank you.